Hey, what's up you guys? Welcome back to my channel. I have a lot to speak about today. I want to talk about cults specifically, online cults and cults that you physically go to. I had an experience with a group we're going to call the NKT. I feel like it had some culty characteristics. Allegedly, it had some culty characteristics, allegedly. So I have been watching a lot of documentaries and interviews and such about cults. A lot of the things they discussed resonated with me and my experience. When I was a teenager, I felt genuinely alone in the world and like no one understood me, and I didn't feel close to my family. I didn't feel close to my friends at the time, and that's nothing to do with them. I would reach out to these communities online. Eventually, I started seeking out other groups in real life. This one group kind of unsettled me. I had some doubts about it, and I looked online just like this then, because I've been watching stuff to do with cults, and I was like, is this organization a cult? Question mark. And there is a lot of stuff about how people think it could be. So I'm going to talk about my experience with this organization. I'm reading this article, and it really does, it really has some similarities with cults, and it's actually terrifying. So backstory, I've been interested in Buddhism my whole life, and this is a new religious group. Keep that in mind. Okay. A quote from the article about someone who was a part of it and then left. Part of it was realizing how completely isolated that group is from the rest of the whole Buddhist world. It felt as if I were doing something naughty when I was reading books by other teachers, including His Holiness the Dalai Lama. Just reading Dharma made me feel as if I was 16-year-old smoking a joint behind a garage. And that is true. If you want to completely join this religion, this particular group, one of the vows you have to take is that you forsake all other religions and all other spiritual teachers, and you just practice this particular new tradition. The NKT has two different faces. One is for the media and the public, and the other is for people inside. Now this leader, they equate him to equal to Buddha. And at the time that didn't struck me as weird, but they were saying, you know, he's a Buddha who is still walking on this earth, and we're so fortunate to hear his teachings. Isn't that weird? Advanced NKT disciples are told that insert name of leader is a Buddha who watches over them and guides their lives. He is venerated as an infallible source of wisdom, and some disciples have even speculated that he may be the third Buddha. And I have been told that he is a Buddha by the teachers that I was listening to. Critics of the NKT say that such devotion of the leader is unhealthy. Indeed, they argue that such certainty of faith requires a closed-mindedness that to many seems out of place in modern pluralistic world. I'll insert the clip, but something that the woman who was in a cult was saying is that they sort of teach you to question, like, okay, not inherently, it's like brainwashing, but you eventually learn that your inner judgment is wrong.
The idea is if they undermine your confidence in yourself, then you're more amenable to being brainwashed, you're more amenable to being manipulated. It'll be like, hey, if you were in this situation, what would your natural reaction be? And you put your natural human emotional creature reaction, right? And then the first thing they say is like, wrong, you're wrong. And so they train you to distrust your own instincts, and they train you to distrust your own emotion.
And if you have a bad feeling, you're just being negative, hey? Just being negative. If you think something is fishy, that's on you. Nobody can claim to be the one only to know the truth. The problem is that the leader wants his disciples to see him only as the legitimate one, the only one who is qualified. There is no room for critical thinking. This is dangerous in every aspect. Big time. The Buddha himself warned against blindly clinging to one's own belief and thought. This danger isn't merely theory. The NKT's modus operandi has led to several real-life consequences for its members. A former NKT member who joined the NKT in 2007, left in 2012, has personally observed the dangers of blind devotion. Everyone looks so happy when you come in. You have no idea all the suffering going on behind the scenes. She felt pressured to constantly convince herself she was happy because unhappiness is a sign of spiritual failing, and we truly felt fortunate to have these teachings. And let's get into the isolation. So they would teach you that you should feel sorry for everyone else because they were not fortunate enough to receive these teachings. You were above them because you knew about these teachings and you had a special karma, a special karmic imprint that led you to receive these teachings, and you had to go out into the world and spread this message and try and get as many people as you can to join. Please do. Yeah, if you know anyone struggling, tell them how much this has helped you. She says because we were constantly told that it is the only path that will lead to nirvana. Yeah. She believed that if she completely devoted herself to the leader, she would attain enlightenment in 3 years, 3 months and 3 weeks. Then when you're still not enlightened, you're convinced you did something wrong and did not dedicate enough of yourself to the leader. So you become ordained or give away all your money to prove you're worthy. Holy shit, I did not know that happened. She had no money to give, but she volunteered 35 hours per week for the organization while holding down a job and taking care of her young son. I felt I had to do it to gain spiritual merit. Yes. They talk about, come and help us, you know? Come over and help us because then you'll get good karma. Help us cook, help us weed, help us do the gardening, and you'll get good karma. She adds that she worked herself into such exhaustion she did not even have time to meditate. Okay, in my experience, I went to a retreat and there was a girl there who was a teacher and she was getting promoted, and I overheard in this conversation that she was saying how she felt exhausted. She felt like she couldn't take on this role because she was so tired all the time from doing other responsibilities for this organization. But then she told herself, wait, no, that's just me being negative and it's a mindset and I can do all of these things, like I'm capable. And it's like it teaches you to ignore your instincts. And her instinct was saying, maybe I shouldn't do this for the organization and become, you know, more involved and organize stuff for them because I'm tired. But she kept going because she felt like she was just being negative. But she started questioning, this is the article, she started questioning the NKT when she noticed how the organization treated its most vulnerable members. She says some of the ordained people in her community who struggled with serious mental illness were encouraged to go off their medications and try to heal themselves through spiritual practice. Wow. She also tells a story of an elderly nun who had been encouraged to sell her house and donate the proceeds to the NKT and then paid rent to live in a basement at the NKT center. She explains that she was constantly pressured to contribute to its international temple project, which aims to build temples around the world. And yes, this is correct. They would ask you to donate because all the money is going to the project, so that way this message can be spread to more people. And more people can be happy, and less people can suffer. Because this is the one true path to eternal happiness. So they'll teach you this train of thought. And the train of thought they'll teach you is that I am a human being who has reincarnated in human form, and I will die and become a human again and keep suffering and suffering and suffering and suffering until the end of time, and I will never truly be happy. And the only way to escape this is to follow this tradition. Follow this. Follow what the organization is teaching. Because then when you die, you will become enlightened. And it reminded me a lot of, in Christianity, how they talk about happiness after death, heaven. And that was just like, what happened to being happy in the present moment? Like, that's what I wanted to learn. As a teenager, when I felt very unhappy, I want, okay, you can live there, like you can live in the community. I felt like the best thing for me to do for my happiness would be to live there and to work there. That would be my life. And if you think about it, if I had have done that, had lived there, I would have had no life experience. I wouldn't have had an education past high school, and I wouldn't have had experience working. So imagine trying to leave that. That'd be hard, wouldn't it? But I didn't think about that. And then I thought about that later. I'm like, shit, man. I was so lucky I didn't fully join. I guess this is hard to talk about because for so long, this was a positive thing in my life. And then I've sort of realized that it may have been something else. These talks that we would go to cost a lot of money. $80 to $100, you know, to go to like a full day's talk. And I was a student, I didn't have that much money. But they would say, if you go, you'll get good karma. Yeah, so I would keep going to them. And you know, you would worship the leader. We're worshipping this person, because he is a person. We're worshipping a person who a lot of people in the community are saying is another Buddha. Like when you walk into the temple, there's a picture of the leader at the front. During the religious ceremonies, you would bow down to him. And he's a person, and we're worshipping him, the leader of this whole organization. I had school, so I couldn't always go. And as time went on, you know, I started going to a therapist, and we kept coming back to the reason that I have such difficulty having negative thoughts. If I have a negative thought, I feel like I've failed. And if I have a negative thought, I feel guilt. And I believe that it is from going to this since I was 18. Years of just, you know, slowly changing your perspective on things. And I never used to be like that. Like, I have such difficulty. If I have a negative emotion, I feel horrible. I feel like I've failed. And that's not how a religion is meant to make you feel. I think it's meant to make you feel good. Cult education group. Okay guys, I'm just going back, finding more articles. Cults inside out. Buddhist. Ooh, this page contains information about cult education. This is a cult page, and this page seems to believe that it is this organization I was a part of. It seems to believe it is a cult. I've certainly had complaints about the NKT activities, and we are very concerned about them. The centre has been approached by families and friends of some NKT members worried about personality changes among a number of people who join the group, putting a strain on relationships. Concerns have also been expressed about the depth of commitment members make within a relatively short time of contacting the NKT, and about the group's opposition to the Dalai Lama. Yeah, this group does not like the Dalai Lama, His Holiness. I love the Dalai Lama. He is beautiful. But they reject him. They think he's bad. I don't know why, but they do. Thoughts. Okay, so my opinion on this whole, what if it's a cash grab? The talks are very expensive. And I would feel pressured to become a member. I would feel pressure to become a member because it is $100 a month to become a member. I would usually go to the classes once a week, which is $15. On top of that, sometimes go to like an $80 talk. So sometimes I'd spend $100 a month on this. Other times, I would not. So you know, they're like, oh, you're basically spending over $100. It's cheaper just to buy a membership, and then you have to go to the classes anyway, and like you need to go because it creates good karma. So I had plans to completely join this new religion.